Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me every Sunday right here on this station from 8 to 9 a.m. where I bring you, the landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And I hope everyone's ready for a good show today because I'm going to tell you, I'm fired up. It's one of those days, it's one of those shows, and I am fired up. So we're going to have fun with it, but I'm going to be doing some ranting because I'll tell you, it's a week, this past week just got me fired up for many, many different reasons. But before I get into that, so I'm telling you, if you like those shows, stay tuned because I have a message for you. And I'm going to give you this message now, and then we'll jump back to our kind of regular introduction. But here's my message now. Ladies, gentlemen, stop signing agreements that are presented to you. Stop signing. Stop signing. Now, do I mean don't ever sign? No. Is that specific advice? Well, we'll say no. But the reality is everybody needs to stop signing bad agreements, take a step back, get some assistance, understand what you're doing, understand the market, but stop simply signing these agreements. Landowners are being taken advantage of, as has been the case, but in these markets, in this low natural gas price market, it's a lot worse now because landowners are signing routinely and they're being offered, I see them every day, being offered terrible agreements where things have gone backwards. Listen up, Tioga County. Listen up, Lycoming County. Things have gone backwards, and there's no reason that things should be going backwards for you, the landowner. We have information. We have backdrop. We can study not only what's happened in other states, but what's happened historically in Pennsylvania in areas that are being developed and have been developed over the past several years, and we can learn from that. And I'll tell you, too many people aren't learning from it. But who is learning from it is the gas companies. And they learned from it before they ever got to Pennsylvania. So they know they feed off of your frustration. Where everybody was promised in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, we were all going to be millionaires. Everybody was going to be a millionaire. Well, that hasn't happened. So most people, understandably, are now frustrated. So what do the companies do? They feed off of that frustration. They feed off of the low gas market. What do I mean by that? If you listen all the time, you'll hear me say this low gas market can and does and is creating magnificent opportunities for hundreds and hundreds of landowners. But somehow these landowners, many of them, are allowing the company to twist this around to talk them into signing bad agreements when that landowner in many, many cases should be stepping back and saying, hey, look, I'm no dummy here. I'm not going to sign this agreement now. I'm not going to sign a pipeline right-of-way agreement that's a terrible agreement where you give me virtually no money up front, and then you have 5 years into the future to decide if you're going to do this? Well, why sign today, ladies and gentlemen? Why, landowner? Why sign today when gas prices are so low and make a commitment for 5 years? Most pipeline agreements that I work on, option agreements or pipeline agreements, the company has 2 years to either use the agreement or exercise the option. 2 years, sometimes 3. But as a practice, and remember, I've worked on, consulted with pipeline agreements with over 60 different companies across Pennsylvania. I am not the smartest man in the world, but I do know a few things about pipelines and pipeline right-of-way agreements and oil and gas issues. And one of the things that I know is there's no reason that any company needs a 5-year option agreement other than it's really convenient for the company. It's an incredibly powerful document for the company to have because it gives them all different options, opportunities, and abilities And it can allow them to further pressure you and other landowners in the region because they hold these agreements and hold certain rights. That's how it goes. So why, ask yourself, if you're considering a pipeline right-of-way agreement, and sorry to get area specific, but let's say Tioga County, if you are considering a pipeline right-of-way agreement today at this time for $5 a foot, $10 a foot, $7 a foot. And listen, there are ones out there that I'm aware of right now of $5 and $7 a foot. Never have I had a client who I represented that signed for $5 a foot or $7 a foot. I haven't even seen those offers until recently in Tioga County. I don't care if it's $16 a foot. Why would you sign today and give them an option for years at the lowest rates that are out there in the state of Pennsylvania? Lowest rates that are out there, lowest rates that I've seen, some lowest rates I've ever seen, some the lowest rates I've seen in years are being offered, and you're going to sign today and make a commitment for up to 5 years. And I'm not even getting into how bad the language is and how company friendly that language is. But why would you sign today a terrible agreement with horrible language, but that gives the company 5 years to decide? Because one thing, I'll tell you, one effective argument, and by the way, you're listening to Doug Clark. This is Attorney Doug Clark, All Things Marcellus. One of the things that is understandably a good argument for a pipeline company, landman, or a pipeline company is this. Well, landowner, we need to get gas to market and get you royalties. We want to get your royalties right away. So here you go. Here's the pipeline right-of-way agreement. Hurry up, sign this. We need to get these in place. We're going to build pipelines. Market's going to recover. Everything is going to be great. But, by the way, yeah, we have 5 years to decide whether or not we're even going to use this agreement. 5 years. So, okay, landman, pipeline company, you're so into getting me royalties right away, and that's what I'm interested in because maybe I have a gas lease already, so I'd like to see some royalties. Who doesn't? I want all my clients to be receiving royalties. So you say, okay, well, all right, where do I sign? But again, the problem is that if your motivation is to get royalties sooner or quicker, if the company is saying, hey, sign this because we want to get you royalties really soon or quicker, why are they saying we need 5 years? Why are they saying we need 5 years? You know, I get so frustrated because I talk to people all the time who signed gas leases in 2006, 2007, 2005 for $25, $50, $60 an acre, and now they are very upset because promises were made to them, statements were made to them that they believed, that they took to heart and believed and said, wow, okay, I'm willing to do this. And then we fast forward, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and what's happened? Well, those statements that were made aren't necessarily happening the way they were made. In fact, in a lot of cases, they're absolutely not. Remember, I can say this. I sat there in meetings. I sat there for presentations. The pad will be 3 to 5 acres. It'll look like a golf course. We'll have it all done in a year. You'll hardly even know it's there. I sat there. I heard those statements. Then I now represent clients. The last 3 well pads that I've worked on were over 20 acres with the pad and the roadway. Over 20 acres. I tell you what, as sure as heck wasn't said what was said to me and what was said to the group of people that I was in the room with back in 2007, 2008 range. So we know that things that have been said haven't occurred as they've been stated and promised. We know that. Most people probably had that experience themselves. So why do we think now something will be different? Why do we think if we touch the hot stove and we burn our fingers and we go back to the hot stove and it's still red hot, do we think we can touch it again and not burn our fingers? Well, we don't think that. We don't think that. But for some reason, I guess maybe it's because the stove isn't talking to us to convince us, oh yeah, listen, everything will be okay. You touch me and everything will be fine. Here, touch this red hot stove, touch it and everything will be fine. And somehow, maybe I guess that convinces people to touch the stove again. And what happens? Well, in my example, they get burned. What's happening now? People are going back up. They're signing bad agreements. They're saying, okay, yeah, I'm frustrated because I thought I was going to be in production. I thought I was going to be a millionaire. I thought all these things. Well, now I understand because the landman, the company has explained to me the reason why is we got to get pipelines. The gas prices are down, so I got to cut them a break. Let me sign real cheap, give you a pipeline agreement, and that'll be the difference. That'll be how I start getting royalties. But you know what? Look around, especially Tioga County. And I'll tell you what, why do I talk about Tioga County? In my opinion, by far, Tioga County is the number one place in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that landowners are signing bad agreements and are being taken advantage of, in my opinion. I'm going to say that again because I want it to be clear. In my opinion, this is Doug Clark. You're listening to All Things Marcellus. Been doing the show since 2010, and I can tell you without hesitation, without reservation, without delay of any kind, and without any doubt, Tioga County, Pennsylvania is the number one place today where I see people signing bad agreements and, in my opinion, being taken advantage of. And the sad thing to me is that we can learn, Tioga County landowners can learn from what's occurred all over the place, all around them, Bradford County, Susquehanna County, other areas. The company comes out, they say to you, oh, we've drilled these Utica wells. They are going to be fantastic. They're going to be fabulous. It's going to be outstanding. You're going to be rich. I've heard that before. Oh, by the way, here, sign this pipeline right-of-way agreement and give us 5 years. Oh, and yeah, we'll give you $5 per foot. In my opinion, that's a joke. $5 a foot, in my opinion, is a joke. I can tell you this, that I can guarantee you on my life that I would never, will never, and will not sign, and I don't want to represent landowners who are going to sign agreements like that because you're, in my opinion, being absolutely ripped off. Being ripped off, in my opinion. I had a client, who is in an area. I'll tell a quick story. Well, we'll see how quick. You know what? I'm going to tell it after this break. We're up against it. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a little fired up, and I'm probably going to continue to stay fired up. I'm going to keep this to the point where I can't talk. So this is a good time to go to break. So I can, and I'm not, listen, guys, if you like the show, keep going. If you don't like the show, you may want to tune out because I'm not stopping because I am upset. I'm fired up. Things are happening. People are signing bad agreements, and we need to stop it. When I get back, I'm going to tell you what I think is an interesting story of the evolution of some pipeline numbers in Pennsylvania. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station. And I'm going to be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. And listen, I got so fired up, I didn't do my kind of standard intro, but I want to remind everybody, look, I represent Pennsylvania landowners, Pennsylvania oil and gas right owners. In case you haven't guessed, I have not, do not, and will not, never represent an oil or gas pipeline company. I believe that the landowners need good, quality, credible, aggressive, zealous representation to protect their interest in what starts off as a very uneven playing field. Very sophisticated companies, sophisticated representatives who've done this time and time again. They didn't just start in Pennsylvania. They started elsewhere. And, well, actually, they did start in Pennsylvania. But this didn't start in Pennsylvania. Today's landmen coming out to your door, coming out to your house, that didn't start here now. That's been going on for decades in other parts of the country. So these guys and ladies understand what they're doing. These companies understand what they are doing. You as a landowner, you can be, and most of my clients are, very, very intelligent people. But no matter how smart you are, if you do not have the experience in a certain field or area, you're going to make mistakes. And how do I know this? Well, unfortunately, I see it all the time. So we need to make sure, whether you talk to me or talk to somebody else, that you stop signing agreements. If you think you want to move forward, you need to speak with somebody about your rights and what to do. Now, commercial for a moment. I have been doing a lot of these reviews and consultations when landowners are presented with offers. I have found them, and I do more, and I talk about them because I've found them to be very valuable to my clients. And my clients have found them everybody has said at the end of these, I'm really glad we did this. I'm glad I understand things more. I have a lot more guidance, and I feel better that I can make the right decision for myself. I do not ever make decisions for anybody. I try to give you the tools, the education, and the information to allow you, the landowner, to make the right decision for yourself and for your family. It's not my property. It's not my children. It's not my future or my children's future that's in play or at stake, without trying to go too melodramatic. But it's true. It's true. And a bad agreement, the difference between signing at 12.5% and full deductions and the difference of, say, signing at 15% and not have deductions taken from your royalties with a 100-acre property can literally go into the hundreds of thousands of dollars and possibly even into the millions. It depends on the area. There's other factors and things like that. But ask the landowners who now are having gas pumped from their property and are actually not receiving any royalty checks because the deductions are exceeding the revenue gained from the gas. What does that mean? Well, you're not getting, what it means to you, the landowner, you're not getting monthly royalty checks, even though gas is being pumped from your property, because the price that the company pays to transport the gas to sell compared to the sell price is lower than the transportation costs. So the companies say your deductions are exceeding the revenue, therefore you do not get a check. Well, think about this, Tioga County. Think about this when you're offered 12.5% royalty, full deductions. Think about the number of people who that means right now they're not getting any royalty. They're not getting any royalty. 12.5%, lowest percent allowed by law in Pennsylvania. Company comes out, they tell you, oh, we have these great Utica wells. We have these great wells. We're going to make you rich. We're going to have a lot of money. These things are going to be fantastic. Here, let me give you a royalty calculator. These things are going to be fantastic. Well, why would I only make 12.5% if this is going to be such a fantastic well? Why are people in other areas, why did they sign for 20 and 21%? Why should I sign for 12.5%, the lowest possible royalty allowed by state law? And why should I agree for you, the company, to take full deductions from my royalties, especially if this is going to be some sort of great producing well? Because you should be getting a lot of money then, company. And me getting 15, 16, 17, 18, that shouldn't be so crazy. Me not having to share in the deductions shouldn't be so crazy. Hey guys, there are many, many people in Pennsylvania who get royalty checks without deductions. Now again, every negotiation, every situation is different, but I can sure as heck tell you there's people out there 20, 21% royalty, no deductions. 15% royalty, no deductions. Well, ask yourself this. If you're considering signing a lease, and I don't care where you are, but again, Tioga County, if you're considering signing a lease at 12.5% with full deductions, I have one enormous question for you. Why? Why? Why now? Well, maybe you may say, well, because they're going to start producing or pumping gas in the next year or so if I sign it. Well, then I would say, well, take a close look at that agreement. I believe it says that the term is for 10 years. So they have 10 years to decide whether or not to even drill and most likely to even file for a permit. So why are you signing today for the lowest royalty in Pennsylvania at 12.5% with full deductions? Now listen, I represent landowners. I represent landowners in contract negotiations, contract reviews of consultations, estate planning, royalty issues, everything and all things related to natural gas development. So if you're a landowner and you call me, you call my office, you hire me, you say, hey, I want you to review this and I want you to negotiate a gas lease agreement for me. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's what I do. That's how I make a living. That's how I get paid. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you, and we're going to go over the reasons, but I'm going to ask you why. Why do you want to do this today? We're going to talk about what the pricing is. We're going to talk about other offers, not only from other companies, but this same company. We're going to talk about market conditions. We're going to talk about regional development. We're going to talk about those things to help you determine, hey, is this a good time for you to move forward? I would make more money and would have more work if you want me to negotiate and we go forward. But at the same time, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to tell you, hey, look, I don't know. Now, you may disagree, but here's the reasons why this may not be the time for you to move forward. But on the flip side, if you say, and on the flip side, I'm also going to talk about, well, here's the positive things. So we really look at what are the positives? What are the negatives? And consider everything to decide, do you want to move forward at this time? Now, look, the radio show, this isn't that type of analysis and individual advice. This is some general stuff here. And I think powerful general stuff, at least I hope so, because my goal to everybody out there is to educate you as the landowner and to get you to ask those questions why, and to get you most importantly is to help to educate you to stop signing bad agreements. Bad agreements. We need to stop signing them. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, you can join me right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. I said from earlier that I was going to be fired up. I'm getting, as I go, I get more fired up. So if this is your first time listening or you're a new listener, these aren't always the type of shows. It's not always like this. But I just this past week got so fired up because I've seen multiple people who came to me that were taken advantage of, in my opinion, and I'll tell you, I strongly believe that I am correct, and it's driving me crazy because we need to get information out there to the community. And I talk about Tioga County. There's different regions, obviously, in the state, Commonwealth. And we have the northeastern part of the state, which I would say, we got Bradford, Susquehanna, and these are very general. Some Wyoming. Then you go into the north central. We're getting more Lycoming and Tioga and a little bit of Potter. And we get into some other counties in the north central. And then we have the southwestern, Washington, Greene. And then we climb up the western side. We get some Allegheny, Westmoreland, Beaver, those Armstrong. We get development there. And we have kind of different issues facing different places. But at the same time, there are different individual issues, but there's still gas lease, pipelines, the same development issues, but different types of issues based upon your region. And I'm going to talk again to Tioga County. It is the number one area where I see people being taken advantage of. The number one area today, number one area. And I'm doing the best I can. I'll tell you, we did a seminar out there. It was fantastic. I've talked to so many people since then, and it's remarkable how many people are in the same position. And I am so thankful, not for the business, I don't mind that, but I'm thankful that I'm talking to these individuals because I know they've now become more educated and they understand things better, much, much better. And whether they decide to move forward or not move forward, now they're making an informed decision. Too many people, whether you're in Tioga County or anywhere else, are making uninformed decisions. And many, many, many times those are going to come back and they're going to bite you and you're going to regret doing what you did because you weren't informed. And again, Tioga County is the number one place where I'm seeing that today. That may change in the future, but today. And one of the reasons is, and I've done these other shows recently, and if you don't listen all the time, if you're a new listener, if you're in Tioga County, do yourself a favor, go back to the websites. The shows are free. You can listen to them anytime. Go to pagasleaseattorney.com. Go to pipelineattorney.com. Check out the prior shows. These gas lease amendments and modifications are incredible, in my opinion, and I believe this as well, incredible opportunities for you. But somehow these brilliant companies have figured out how to turn them into opportunities for them, opportunities to get you to sign $5 per foot pipeline agreements, $7 per foot pipeline agreements for 5-year agreements that the company can decide whether or not they want to use these within 5 years. And I'll tell you, here's a big secret, or, well, maybe not such a big secret. These companies, they don't like to know and they don't like to hear what I'm talking about. They don't like to know that you're listening as a landowner. They don't want you to be informed. And hey, that's okay, because that's their business. And you as a landowner, you should want to be informed because that's your business. So if you're out there and you're trying to sign people for $5 and $7 per foot for a pipeline that you have 5 years to decide whether or not you want to use it, do you want to hear about people in Susquehanna County being offered over $100 a foot? Do you want to hear about routine offers and condemnation and eminent domain cases that are well over $50 per foot? Do you want that information to hit the community where you're trying to sign people for what I know in my mind are horrible agreements for landowners at $5 or $7 a foot? Well, heck no. Heck no. And I don't know what the rules are with FCC, but I'll tell you this, that's not the word that I would use if I wasn't on the radio. So heck no, they don't want you to sign or to have this information. They do want you to sign, but they don't want you to have this information. So again, look, I represent people who sign pipeline right-of-way agreements. It's not about not signing. It's about getting a fair, reasonable agreement. And I'll tell you, Tioga County, in my opinion, and I don't care if it's a gas lease or a pipeline agreement, what you're being presented with, in my opinion, the opinion of Doug Clark, is that's not a fair agreement for you. That's not a reasonable agreement for you. Not specific advice. That's my opinion. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m., and I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, I'm here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. And I'm sorry to beat this horse, and I'm sorry to break my rules more than what I usually do. But reviews and consultations, Tioga County, I don't care where you are, if you're considering signing an agreement, but especially today in Tioga County, in that area, if you're considering signing a lease amendment, modification, new lease, top lease, pipeline agreement, do yourself a favor. Get the review and consultation. usually 1 to 2 hours. And I mean, rarely ever is it longer than that. 1 to 2 hours. And I'll guarantee you, you're going to walk out of that conversation knowing so much more and having the tools that are going to allow you to make the right decision, whether that's to sign what you're presented, highly unlikely, but it may be. Maybe that's your decision to negotiate now or to hold off. You'll have the tools that you need to make the right decision. You can always call the office, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. It is so important that before you sign, whether it's me or somebody else, please speak to somebody who knows what they're doing, who can advise you and help you to make this very important decision for you and your family for many, many years, decades, many decades in most cases. We have to make sure you're getting good information and making the right decision. And I'll just conclude, I do these reviews and consultations. We do them in office, love to. Anyone's always welcome. But I do them by telephone, too. And we can do them with conference calls. We all call into a number. And I'll have sometimes multiple siblings, parents, children, whatever the case may be. And don't be discouraged by distance. I mean, I do these with people across the country. So really encourage you again. Last time you can call 570-307-0702. And while I'm on this little roll, let me remind everybody that you can, if you miss any of today's show or you want to go back, you want to listen to other shows. And I'll tell you, if you're in Tioga, you want to go back and listen to other shows if you missed them. You can go to pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Again, I don't care. Well, I'm here to help. But whether you ever call the office or you don't, do yourself a favor, go to pagasleaseattorney.com, go to pipelineattorney.com, read the information there, read the educational information, become more informed, listen to prior radio shows, become more informed. That will benefit you. Become more informed. It's all free. And I believe strongly there's a lot of great information on the websites and, of course, the radio shows. pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. I'm going to go back because I started to say something I was going to at the end of the first segment. I want to talk to you about this evolution of an offer and an idea and understanding of this. All right, here's the example, and I'm going to go somewhat hypothetical, but it's one of those movies, based on a true story. So we'll go hypothetical. So, Susquehanna County, we'll say. And that's really based on a true story. Susquehanna County. Back in the day, landowners were being offered $15 per foot, right around $15 a foot. And many, many people signed. Many people thought that was a good deal. Well, then came along this other company, and they started offering people about $60 per foot. Well, that company signed a lot of people very quickly because they were paying more money, and it seemed like they were, this was a crazy, crazy price to pay. But that company was pretty smart, in my opinion. They knew that numbers were going to raise, and they said, you know what? We're going to strike when other companies are trying to secure cheap right-of-way agreements. We're going to come in, and we're going to pay a reasonable price for a right-of-way agreement. We're going to lock it all up, and then what we're going to do, we're going to actually then either construct or we maybe prior to construction, we're going to accumulate this right-of-way, and then we're going to, in this case maybe after construction, sell this big easement, this multi-mile easement to a big pipeline company, which is exactly what occurred. So, brilliant thing, coming in and buying easements $50, $60 per foot when other companies were paying $15, then securing this long easement area, and then actually constructing a pipeline within this multi-mile easement, and then selling that easement, those assets, to a big pipeline company for a lot of money. So at $50, $60 per foot, this company was able to secure all of these easements and then sell this off for a substantial sum of money. Well, what do we have happening in other areas now? What do we have happening in Tioga County? Boy, I wish for Tioga County residents that a company would come in and start paying $50, $60 a foot so that the landowners would see that's not such an unreasonable number. So let me back up then again. I'm going to go back to Susquehanna County. So the number's $15 a foot. $15 a foot. Well, what happens? People stop signing at $15 a foot. I say it all the time about the low-hanging fruit. Landowners, please don't be the low-hanging fruit. But once you pick all the low-hanging fruit, once you sign all the landowners who are willing to sign bad agreements at, in this case, Susquehanna, at $15 per foot, then we'll raise the price, climb up a little bit on the tree, and pick the medium-hanging fruit. Now, being the medium-hanging fruit, maybe that's not so bad. Certainly not as bad as being the low-hanging fruit. But you have to decide, is this the time to cut my deal? And that gets back to individual choices, specific information, evaluating your circumstance, and is the deal right for you? I can't stress enough. I've had hundreds of clients sign pipeline right-of-way agreements. That's what I do. But I don't want to have, and I try not to have, and I don't think I've had very many people sign bad agreements. And in some cases, I will tell people, if you want to do this, I'm not comfortable representing you because it's such a bad agreement. I don't want to represent. This is good news for you guys out there in companies in Tioga County. I know you're listening. I don't want to represent anyone at $5 or $7 per foot for a pipeline right-of-way agreement, because I don't want to be associated with that. Because to me, that is in my own opinion, that's a joke. Haven't been involved in it, don't want to be involved in it. And people who sign it are being taken advantage of, in my opinion, and I don't want that to occur with any of my clients. So I don't want to be involved in that. So that's good news for you. Bad news for you companies are there's only so many people that are going to sign at $5 and $7 a foot, just like Susquehanna County, which at least started at $15 a foot. Well, then it goes, after they pick the low-hanging fruit, then $25 to $30. Now, I don't even know when the last person I had in Susquehanna County who signed for $25 a foot. In fact, the last offer that I have pending is well over $100 a foot. Think about that. That people, if this gentleman now who has an offer of over $100 a foot would have signed years ago, if the offer was presented, it would have been $15 a foot. So when you're presented with an agreement at $5 or $7 a foot, be prepared that in the future, I'm pretty darn comfortable to say that you're going to probably see, in my mind, you're definitely going to see much higher offers in the future. So decide, do you want to be the low-hanging fruit? And this is where I start scratching my head, and my hand is in my face is in my hands, all of those things to say, not only is it just low money, but these agreements with 5-year terms, meaning that the company has 5 years to decide whether or not to even construct the pipeline. Why? Why are you thinking about doing this at $5 or $7 a foot? Why? I'm going to finish my Susquehanna County example here after this break. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can always contact me, 570-307-0702. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, you can join me every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on this station. If you're new to the show, I've been doing the show since 2010. So we have hours and hours and hours of shows available on the websites. You can check us out at pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Go back, listen to other shows at your convenience. There's a lot of great information available for you at pagasleaseattorney.com, at pipelineattorney.com. All right, Want to get back here. Gosh, I get fired up, and look, I'll be honest. Sometimes I get off track. I have these notes here, 90% of them I haven't even got to. But I want to talk again. We're talking about these pipelines, and I'm talking very general, not specific. We're talking about the evolution of prices. And what happened, let's look at Susquehanna County. Offers started at 15. Other places, they're starting even lower. Tioga County, pay attention, started at 15. Then went to as routine offers. Routine, $25, $30. Routine. Now, it is not uncommon to see $60 a foot as a standard offer. Not uncommon. Now, there aren't as many pipeline offers and things going on right now because of the market, which again says there's a low gas price market today. Do we think that's going to last forever? Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't. I'm going to tell you, companies don't. I don't think the company who paid my client $8,000 per acre as a bonus within the last 9 months or so thinks that the prices are going to stay down forever. I don't think companies out there offering $10,000 or more to buy oil and gas rights think that this market is going to last forever. So why do we think from the landowner's side that we need to hurry up and do something? Again, not specific advice, but think about it. What is the big hurry for you to do something in a low market? Why is the gas company landman saying, they're pressuring you to try to hurry up and sign right away? Right? Immediately. They want you to immediately sign their right-of-way agreement. But that agreement that you sign gives them 5 years to decide whether or not to even use that agreement. So what is the hurry that you need to hurry up and sign now so the company then puts it in their back pocket and has 5 years to decide whether they're going to use it? And gosh, why would you sign now at $5 or $7 or $16 a foot when the company doesn't have money? Why not wait until the budgets improve? Well, again, not specific advice, but real specific questions you should be asking. Less questions of where do I sign, more questions of why do I sign? Why do I sign today? You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark, and I represent Pennsylvania landowners. And I am telling you, as a lawyer who represents landowners and not companies, that I think you need to be questioning why you're entering into an agreement now. And I can assure you this, that's not self-serving to me, an attorney who negotiates, reviews, and deals with contracts every day. If it's a good deal, I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, it's a good deal. If it's a bad deal, I'm sure as heck going to be the first person to tell you, this is a bad deal. You need to be thinking about things. But I'm also going to be the person that's going to tell you, hey, look, I don't have a crystal ball, but here's the basis or here's the reasons why I think what I think. And then you can weigh those. You can give them the weight and credibility that you would like to. Or you could listen to the company landsman who, here it is, guys, works for the company. Works for the company, not you, the landowner. Ask them to see their card. Does it say John Smith, landman for you, the landowner? No. It will reference the company that they work for, or that their company works for the gas or pipeline company. So you can decide who you want to take your advice from, a person who's being paid to acquire signatures, who is representing a company, or do you want to take advice from good quality, credible sources, which you should obtain? And again, if it's not me, it's not me, but make sure it is somebody. Again, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So just to finish up some more on this evolution of offers. Susquehanna County, we're using that as an example. Routine offers years ago around $15. They got everybody they could get to sign at $15 and said, hey, price is going to go up. You know, the last person that signed at $15, They didn't tell them, oh, yeah, tomorrow's the price is going to go up, so wait until tomorrow. No, the price just goes up. So the same thing. When a company says, oh, yeah, this is all we're going to pay, this is all we're going to pay, I assure you, and probably most of the listeners have already went through this experience. The numbers change all at once. They just change suddenly. So one day you can be hearing, well, I don't even know why we're paying this much. It's so crazy. The gas prices are so low. It's a miracle that this offer is even out there. And then the next day, the offer could go from $5 to $15 to $20 per foot. Or as we saw in gas leases, sometimes it was always funny because sometimes the offer would go, say, $750 to $1,000 or $1,000 to $1,200. Or sometimes they went from $1,000 to $2,500 per acre in a day. So there's not this sign saying, hey, you should hang out here for wait a little while and the numbers are going to go up. They just will go up. And how do they go up? Why do they go up? Well, if they're offering $5 or $7 per foot and everyone's signing them, are they going to offer more? No. They're going to go up whenever the low-hanging fruit has been picked and the smarter, and not, I don't mean it that way, but were people who were more cautious. So people who became more educated and more informed said, I'm not going to sign a bad agreement. I know better. I'm not going to sign a bad agreement. Those people will be presented with better offers. I fully and totally believe that. And part of that reason is, for the reasons I already talked about, but we have the landman saying it to $15, how this is a great deal and all these other things. And please, just because your neighbor or a guy down the road with a bunch of acres signed a terrible agreement, we'll say heck, doesn't mean you have to do the same. It does not mean you have to do the same. Just like if your neighbor signed a $6,000 gas lease or your neighbor signed a pipeline agreement for $100 per foot, doesn't mean the company's going to give you the same deal. Doesn't mean that's going to be the case. So companies, though, they want to come to you and they say, oh, yeah, your neighbor signed it for $5. Your neighbor. And then you say, well, you know what? My neighbor signed a gas lease for 15%, for 20%, for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per acre. I'd like that too. So since you're all big on me doing what my neighbor did, why don't you give me what my neighbor or what the guy down the road did? Oh, that's different. That's different. Well, of course it's different because it doesn't work out to the company's benefit. Yeah, that's different. It works out for them, not for you. So we have to be educated. We have to be informed. You are listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here every single Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. You miss any of today's show, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Check out pipelineattorney.com. We will have today's show up and available Monday morning for you to listen to on the websites. And while you're there, and if you have some time, there are hours and hours and hours of other shows indexed by topic that you can go check out. pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Okay, I want to finish. I want to take some shots. It's not taking a shot, but I just want to say, I want to talk about lawyers, getting a lawyer. In case you're not aware, I am one. And what we want to make sure is that whoever is representing you in any matter, you're comfortable with and you're confident in, and they have the experience to help and represent you. I say this because I just had another call this week and talked to a client who, and unfortunately, it's amazing to me that I've seen this many times, but this landowner was selling property and believed they were maintaining or keeping their oil and gas rights. This occurs all the time. People now are selling, you can kind of think of it as you're selling the surface of your property, but you're maintaining your oil and gas rights, your rights to future royalties, your rights to enter in a new lease if your property is not leased, if your gas rights are not leased, or if your current gas lease expires. So I talked to this landowner who thought when they sold their property they were maintaining their gas rights. Unfortunately, that's not what occurred. And if the landowner is to believe and to be believed, then I don't have reason to doubt them. Maybe they're lying to me, but I've heard this many times from different people, not the same lawyer, but the agreement was done, the deed was done, that this person actually did not maintain their oil and gas rights. And needless to say, we'll say if you had 50 acres and you thought you maintained your oil and gas rights and you didn't, that can be hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million or more dollars that you just lost. You better darn well make sure that your attorney knows what they're doing and understands what you need and reviews these documents with you to make sure that what you think is happening is actually happening. And what happened in another case is the landowner said, oh, yeah, I was keeping my oil and gas rights. And I look into it and say, look, unfortunately, you did not keep your oil and gas rights. You gave them away or you sold them in this transaction. But what you did do was you kept your oil and gas lease. And as long as this lease exists, you will get royalties from this lease. But if this lease expires, you no longer have any rights to oil and gas with the property that you've sold. And sure enough, guess what? Market goes down. Now there are new leasing opportunities. Remember, down market, landowner, let's not think bad, let's think opportunity. This landowner now, who first off thought they kept their oil or reserved their oil and gas rights forever, actually sold the oil and gas rights but kept the current and active lease, meaning that as long as that lease generated royalties, they got the royalties. But when the lease ended, they did not receive anything. They couldn't do a new lease. The gas rights belonged to the buyer of the property. Well, long story short, the lease has expired. Landowner now, in this example, has no gas rights, has no lease, gets nothing. New landowner who bought the gas rights, and the person who sold them didn't even think they were selling them, now has the right to new lease and all future royalties. Moral is, be super careful. You've been listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can always contact the office, 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. Remember, everyone out there, stop signing bad agreements, and the landman works for the company, not you, the land owner. Have a great day and a great week, everyone.